morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. As you all know, Chief Hawkins has announced that he has accepted a position in Michigan, and he will be leaving us at the end of November. And given that we have an election year coming up and our chief serves at the pleasure of the mayor, I reached out to our former chief Brendan Cox, to see if he would be willing to come back and serve as an interim chief of the department. As you know, Brendan was chief of this department, he was a deputy chief of this department, he's been part of the command staff and really moved up through the ranks from the time that he began his policing career here in Albany. Born and raised, knows the community, and has done a tremendous amount of work, even since retiring as our chief, in building relationships with the community and ensuring that we continue to move forward as policing continues to be transformed in this country. And so I am confident in his ability, in his leadership, in the work that he will continue to do. The Albany Police Department has an outstanding record and is doing tremendous work driving down crime and closing cases and really performing and doing excellent police work day in and day out. And so in order to have a smooth transition and ensure that we can continue to do the work that we're doing and have a leader that is going to be able to walk in on day one and do the job, we're really grateful to have the leadership and the experience that Brendan Cox brings to this position. And so he will be starting on December 2nd. We look forward to continuing to work with community members, most of whom know Brendan, but there are some new folks that we'll be introducing him to. We've had a number of changes with respect to, for example, ACPAC and our community policing board. So we will be making sure that those introductions are made and that the individuals have the opportunity who don't know Chief Cox to meet Chief Cox and to work with him and talk about the work that we need to continue to do moving forward. But I could think of no one in a better position to continue the outstanding work of the Albany Police Department and to continue moving this department forward during what is going to be a transitional year in 2025. So, Brendan, thank you for your willingness to serve, and I'd like to invite you to say a few words.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank the mayor for her confidence in bringing me back as interim chief. This is really a unique opportunity. There's a transition happening. I was really honored when the mayor called. We got to talking. This made sense for where I am in my personal life. I've enjoyed the last, I've been gone for almost 8 years, so it's been a while. I want to thank Chief Hawkins. He's really done an amazing job. He's been here 7+ years. It's been a really unique time in policing, a unique time in the world if you really think about what's happened. Global pandemic, George Floyd was murdered, a lot of calls for reform. I certainly have not been out of the world of policing. I have not been directly involved in policing, but in my world with working in lead, I've been around the country, around the world, working with law enforcement diversion. I've been working with the city, with lead. So I've had my hands in things. I certainly need to get reacclimated with the city, but this is where, as the mayor said, I grew up here. I lived here the majority of my life. This is where I call home. Certainly whenever anybody ever asks me, this is my home. So I'm looking forward to coming back and serving the citizens of the city, serving the mayor, the women and men in the department. I know what goes in every day to the women and men of the department, to what they put in. I know their dedication. I certainly know the fact that they are the best at what they do. I look forward to serving them. I know that they, at the end of the day, have the best interest of this community at heart. This community is my community, and I love to serve it, so I certainly look forward to getting back to know the community. There's a lot of people here that I still know. There's some folks that I need to catch up and get to know. There's a lot of people over the past 8 years that, there's turnover everywhere, so I know I need to get back in touch with a lot of folks, but I really look forward to this next year plus and digging into things.
Thank you so much. And I want to, before we take questions, give my heartfelt thanks to our command staff. We have a tremendous command staff within the Albany Police Department, and I want them to be laser focused on continuing to do the work that they do, continue to develop their leadership skills and ability, and I believe that Brendan Cox is a person who is tremendous at professional development and at ensuring that our command staff and those of our officers that are lieutenants and our sergeants, as well as those who are seeking leadership positions, have those leadership opportunities. And so I look forward to his work and his leadership in ensuring that as the next mayor comes on board, that they are going to have a tremendous command staff from which to potentially select the permanent chief for this department. And so I just want to make it very clear that I've met with each member of command staff. They are a tremendously talented pool of people, and they have the ability to continue to hold leadership positions within this department. And I look forward to the chief, the interim chief, working with them and ensuring that we are preparing that next generation of leaders to lead the Albany Police Department. And with that, we can take questions.
Mayor, it's my understanding there are 60 vacancies in the police department. I wonder if that will be one of Chief Cox's prime concerns or agenda items. I don't know if it's a question for you or for him, but how will you go about that?
So, we, like departments across the country, are experiencing significant challenges with recruitment. I have no doubt that the next class that will be selected will be an outstanding group of men and women who are going to meet or exceed the expectations, the very high expectations of this department. And we are going to continue to have very high standards for those joining this department. And so this is about leadership under Chief Hawkins. He was very intentional about ensuring that we were building an organization that could continue to function with the reductions that we've seen in the number of officers available. And so he's done a lot of innovative things, and I'm confident that Chief Cox will continue those innovations around ensuring that we're getting all that we can out of our non-sworn staff so that we can have officers deployed where they need to be and where our community expects them to be. With respect to recruitment, this is a community-wide I think, effort that we need to have, encouraging people to look at policing and to look at what this job is. And I'll let Chief Cox speak for himself with some of the ideas that he has around how we better communicate that message.
Yeah, there's no doubt recruiting and retention is a huge issue. It's a huge issue for the city. It's a huge issue nationwide. 60 people didn't follow me through the door to say, like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take this. It will definitely be a focus. It's a focus because, one, we need people to be able to handle this job. Two, we need to take care of the well-being of the officers that are currently doing this job, right? That's important. Their health and well-being is important, and when they're currently having a workload put on them that is overloading them, that's too much. So we need to make sure that community-wide, we're doing the best we can to get our community to want to be police officers, to say, yes, I want to take the test, that's what I want to do. As a kid, this is what I wanted to do. It was easy to say, I'm signing up for that test, that's what I'm going to do. High school, college, I'm going to take this test, that's what I'm going to do. One of our goals in the strategic plan years ago was about winning over a generation and about making sure that the face of the department looked like the community. And I know that the department carried that on after myself and a number of other people left. I want to work with the community, work with the department, work with the command staff, work with the mayor to make sure that we continue to carry that on. There's a lot of really great initiatives that are out there nationally and internationally that I know that we're already a part of, like the 30 by 30 initiative, to really look at women in policing, what that looks like, to really make sure that we're also recruiting to our communities of color, to make sure that we're getting folks that look like the community, that are within our police department. And then we're also then looking at what the workload looks like. So we're actually sending police to what police are supposed to go to, and that we're also enabling and looking at what calls for service exist that maybe police don't need to be going to, so we can kind of unburden some of our officers from going to calls that they don't need to be on, and we can actually work with the community to say, like, what do we need to be on, what don't we need to be on, especially for the short term, because we also don't get 60 new people overnight. So as we look at a long-term strategy, we also have to look at some of the shorter-term things that we can take care of. So that'll definitely be a priority.
So, you first. What do you envision as your strategy into combating crime in Albany? Will it be similar to Chief Hawkins? Will it be similar to what you were doing when you were in the position before? What do you envision that?
So the first thing I really need to do is get back and talk with the men and women of the department and to talk with the community and really understand what's been going on. Certainly I understand violence is a concern. We need to make sure that we're addressing that. There's no doubt that solving crime has happened. But we also know that violence is happening. We have to address that. We have to have intervention and prevention. There are techniques that are happening, but I really want to engage with the community. I think one of the strong points, and I know Chief Hawkins, this has been a strong point of his, is engaging with the community and understanding what people are seeing, recognizing trauma and harm, and making sure that we're ultimately helping to solve that. So I want to engage with the community. I really want to dive back in and hear from the community about what's happening and work on relationships and ensuring that we're working together to solve problems. Public safety can't be accomplished by the police only. We have to make sure that we're doing it in partnership.
So for whoever might be able to answer, Mayor or Chief, how long are you, or Chief, how long are you expecting to serve in the interim role, and what will the search for a permanent replacement look like?
So the chief will serve, the expectation is that he would serve for all of next year, so December and then all of next year. And it will really be up to whoever the next mayor is going to be to determine what that process will be. To just repeat my thought process, and I talked about this a little bit when the chief made his announcement, when Chief Hawkins made his announcement, is that I reached out to every member of command staff. I reached out to former leaders of this department. I reached out to the leaders of our police unions. And I also reached out to the recruiter who we used when we found Chief Hawkins. And I utilized the advice and the insights that they provided to make the determination that the steadiest and most consistent thing that we could do is to ensure that we had leadership of this department throughout an election cycle, which is what we're going to have in 2025, and reaching out and in those conversations and talking with Chief Cox about his willingness to potentially come back and be that person, that stability for this department. This department is doing incredibly outstanding work. When you look at their rate of closing crimes, when you look at the responsiveness of this department, you would never know that this was a department that was down 60 officers. They are doing outstanding work. And so I want to ensure that that work continues. I want to ensure that we're doing all that we can to use a little bit of lingo, but to operationalize the work that they're doing, because it's important and it shouldn't depend on the whims of politics. These should be things that are ingrained in the department because they work operationally. That's going to be some of the work that I know Brendan is capable of doing, that he's demonstrated that he's done, and that we'll be focused on over the next year. And then it'll be up to the next mayor to determine the process that they want to use to select a permanent chief for the department.
Chief, you were with the department for 23 years, and then you chose to retire. Why did you choose to retire, and why go back on that choice now?
Sure. So So I chose to retire because a great opportunity came along that I could not turn down. I wanted to do work on a national and international level. I wanted to take a chance to do some reform work, something that my heart really desired to do. I've been able to do that. I've learned a lot. As I said, though, this is my community. This is where I love. I love the city. I love this community. I love the men and women of this department. And based on this opportunity and this very unique opportunity, it made sense for where I am in my life to take this opportunity and step back into this. I am looking at this as an opportunity to really be that stabilizing force for right now and to really help the mayor in this transition and whoever the next mayor is to help the next year plus, and then the next chief of police to be able to step in, and hopefully that next chief of police to be an internal candidate to step right in and take 2026 on into the next level. That's what I'm looking for.
So just as a follow-up, it sounds like you're not looking for a permanent position in this role, correct?
I'd like to stay married, so
Chief, what role do you believe public sentiment around policing plays in recruitment, and how do you hope to continue to bridge that relationship?
yeah, so public sentiment's huge because everybody wants to feel satisfied in their job, and everybody wants to feel that they're wanted in their community, right? So they want to feel satisfied in their job. And when you come to work and you feel like you're getting beat up all the time, you're not going to feel satisfied in your job. I make a joke, forgive me, that people want to like be waved to with all 5 fingers, right? And when people feel like they're not being treated that way, they're not going to feel like they have job satisfaction. And when people see that, especially from the outside looking in, that there does not seem to be job satisfaction in being a police officer, they may shy away from taking that job. Especially if they're in a community that's often marginalized, and they're like, hey, that's a job that I think I would want, but they feel like they might be more marginalized if they took a step forward to take that job. We have to change that narrative. We have to recognize that there's not a police officer that I've ever been involved in hiring that didn't say that they want this job to help people out, that they want to make a positive difference in their community. And there's not a police officer that's moved through the ranks and done really well in this department that hasn't taken that step and said, hey, let's get into the community and make a positive impact. And that positive impact had nothing to do with throwing handcuffs on somebody and putting them behind bars. It had to do with working positively in the community and doing something different. Could have been wrapping Christmas gifts for people that couldn't afford to put gifts under their Christmas tree. So we need to have that positive impact. We need to understand that we can actually make a difference in our community. It doesn't matter where you lay your head down at night, this is your community. I've told every police officer that I've ever talked to when they got hired, I don't really care where you come from, I don't care where you lay your head down at night, this is your community, you need to be a part of it. And we need to be able to do that together. We need to be all one community. That's what the message needs to be. And we need to tell each other that this is an important job. This is a very important job. So we shouldn't discourage people from doing it. We should actually encourage people to do it. Because at the end of the day, some people call 911. People need the police. So people should encourage people to do this job. People should look at people who they look at with high integrity and high ethics and say, no, I want you to do that job. I want you to be the person that when somebody calls for help, you're on the other line of help. You're the one that's showing up at the door. We want that. We also understand that there have been a lot of really bad things that have happened, and if we don't recognize our history and we don't recognize that those things have happened and we don't address them and we don't actually change those things, that we're going to continue to have a negative outlook. We're going to continue to have people with a negative outlook on what we do. So we have to address those, we have to be accountable, we have to be transparent, and we have to change those, not just in policy, but in practice. And if we don't do that, then we're never going to have that change. But we have to also get past like a lot of the rhetoric, which we seem to never be able to get past that rhetoric. So we have to have open and honest conversations. And I think we have those here in Albany. We've got plenty of those open and honest conversations. They're difficult. I've been in a lot of difficult conversations in this community, but that's okay. We need to have those difficult conversations.
So sort of as a follow-up to that, it's mentioned that there are several vacancies in the department. About how much of a full force does that represent? What percentage of positions in the department are not filled?
So I mean, it varies because it's a moving number. We bring in new classes and then we have retirements, so we can get you that number. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but one of the things that we are also looking at are some retention strategies to make it more attractive to stay on past 20 years. And so this isn't just on the recruitment side, it's on the retention side. We have such outstanding members of this department. We want them to stay, and we realize and recognize that we have to look at being creative and identifying additional strategies to get them to stay. So this is an all hands on deck. But I will say, as a general number, when I talk to mayors across the country who are dealing with shortages, that from a percentage standpoint, we are not an outlier. You know, we're probably a little less than some, and maybe a little more than others, but we can get you that percentage.
I'd appreciate it, thank you, Mayor.
One more question?
Just to clarify, your first day is when and Chief Hawkins' last day is?
So Chief Hawkins will be leaving at the end of November. I think actually his last day will be December 1st, and Chief Cox's first day will be December 2nd.
Is there a residency requirement for a city department head?
So there is for a permanent. So a permanent chief would have to reside in the city of Albany, but we will be moving forward with Brendan as an interim, and certainly not having the expectation, as we've already heard, that he and his wife pick up and literally move. So I've spoken with the council about it, and so because this is an interim position, we will not be enforcing that.
My wife does know the kind of hours I keep, so you will not need to come to my residence.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.